Hi, it's Stuart Talley here to do another update on the Pinnacle metal-on-metal hip trial that's currently ongoing in Dallas, Texas. First, I'd like to let everybody know that we try to do these updates as often as we can. I'd like to do them every day if we could, but we have lots of other stuff going on around here. We have other cases, clients, things that need to get done. So we try to do them as often as we can, and we will try to get more videos up on the website, but I just wanted to let everybody know that. So today I wanted to talk about testimony that was received at trial today from an expert witness that was put on by the plaintiff. His name is Albert Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein is a biomechanical engineer. His resume was incredibly impressive. He has 30 years experience designing and inventing prosthetic devices and things that are used in surgeries, and a whole litany of devices and tools that doctors use in surgeries. He's actually won Lifetime Achievement Awards by various societies. Very impressive resume. And so what he did was he talked about the process of developing medical devices and what a prudent manufacturer is supposed to do when they develop those devices. One of the things he testified to is that a prudent manufacturer will test the device in human beings before they release it to the public. And that's a criticism here because before the Pinnacle was released, it was not tested in individuals. He also indicated that when a manufacturer discovers problems with a medical device, that they have an obligation to disclose those problems to doctors as soon as they become aware of them. That's a sort of a common sense opinion that I think most people would agree with. Now, he also went through this memo that's come up repeatedly in the case called the NGame Memo. This is a memo that was drafted by DePuy executives and engineers back in the 90s before they went on to go on to design metal-on-metal hips. And the NGame Memo discusses the fact that there were problems with metal-on-metal hips in the past, back in the 70s, and that the person who drafted this memo thought that DePuy should instead focus on metal-on-plastic hips and making them better instead of going back to a metal-on-metal design. And so he discussed that memo, what it meant, and he also talked about there was language in the memo concerning metal particles, and the fact that even though plastic particles can cause this problem called osteolysis, which is the eating away of the bone, that the problem with metal particles is different, and that metal particles can cause more problems in the soft tissue than plastic particles. And the way he described that was he said that when you have wear on a device, like a prosthetic hip, if you have a metal-on-plastic hip, there'll be a certain volume of plastic that will wear on the device and will enter the hip joint. And it's a very small amount, but there is a certain volume that's measurable. When you take the same volume of metal that enters the hip joint, you end up with 1.23 times 10 to the 15th more particles with metal than you do with plastic. And it's an enormous number. So what that means is that when you have plastic wear, you're going to have large particles, a few of them, and when you have metal wear, you'll have many, many more very small metal particles. And the example he gave was they actually used two jars in the courtroom. One was filled with marbles and the other one was filled with sand. And that was the example he gave of the difference between plastic wear and metal wear. He also indicated that metal wear is much more unpredictable, that DePuy's test showed that it was more unpredictable, and that the metal particles cause a lot more problems in the hip joint than the plastic particles, because the metal particles can enter cells. They can actually get inside the cells and destroy the cells. So it's a much different type of problem. He also talked about the defense in opening took the position that back when they were developing metal-on-metal hips, there was this raging debate in the orthopedic community as to how to eliminate the problem of plastic wear or osteolysis. That's why DePuy decided to go with metal-on-metal. Dr. Bernstein refuted that contention and said that at the time the Pinnacle was released, there was no debate in the orthopedic community, that the plastics that they were using at the time were so advanced that they had essentially solved the problem of osteolysis. And one of the things he pointed to was various marketing brochures that were put out by DePuy promoting their metal on plastic hips. In those marketing brochures that were released in 2000, DePuy had announced that they had solved the problem of osteolysis. So the problem of plastic wear had essentially been solved, but instead DePuy decided to go with metal on metal. At least that is Dr. Bernstein's opinion. He also discussed specific patients. There were 2 patients that the defendants have taken the position that the reason their hips failed was because the cups were put in at an extreme angle. And what Dr. Bernstein explained was that when you are a surgeon and you're putting a prosthetic hip in, that you want to put the cup in at the same angle that the natural hip socket was before the surgery. And the reason you want to do that is that all of the muscles and tendons that surround the hip are designed to deal with a hip that is at a certain angle. And so he talked about how 45 degrees would be ideal, but not everybody's natural hip joint is at 45 degrees. And so there's this variance in the population, and as a result, hip manufacturers need to design hips that can be variable, that can match the patients that have them, and if they can't, they need to tell the doctors that. So what he did was he went and looked at least 2 of the patients in testimony today, where he looked at the x-rays and the angles that the cups were put in, and he said they were put in at the perfect angle for that patient. So they may not have been exactly 45 degrees, but if they were put in at 45 degrees, the hip wouldn't work. So his opinion was that the hips were put in at the right angles, and that DePuy, with respect to their metal-on-metal hips, was negligent in the design of the hip, that they never should have gone to metal-on-metal, and that's what caused these patients problems, not the angle that the cup was put in. So that was the testimony today. We'll have more. The defense will have a chance to cross-examine Dr. Bernstein. When we get that testimony, we will provide another updated video. Stay tuned. Like I said, we'll try to get these up as often as we can. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. You can reach us at the phone number on the screen, or you can go to our website, fill out one of our online forms, and a lawyer will call you right back.